Gore changes how we experience violence in anime, but does showing everything actually make a story more powerful, or does it just make it more entertaining? Welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Anime. I'm your host, NEP, and I don't judge anyone for what they like. Ever, especially when it comes to anime, because me myself, I like a lot of off-the-wall stuff. So when it comes down to anime, there are people who seek out shows that other people might consider disturbing. Gore is a topic that I briefly brought up in my earlier video this week, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out, please. And once you get back, this is something that I wanted to look at when it comes to anime as a whole. Gore is defined as blood that has been shed, especially as a result of violence. You can have gore without death and death without gore. Today, I want to ultimately answer the question, is it necessary? Now, my position, it's not required. If you're watching this, I want to say thank you so much for sticking in there with me. If you feel so inclined, hit that like button to let me know that you're rocking with me. Gore is used to make us feel pain, to shock us, and sometimes it's really just to entertain us, especially in a world where many of us are already desensitized. A lot of blood is a surefire way to get a higher audience rating slapped on media, so that's how you end up with the mature audiences only, rated R, etc. What it does is invoke emotion in us. It sort of stirs us up, riles us up, and it's not always to make us feel sad because, seeing a villain get beat to a pulp and bloody, that might make us cheer. But on the flip side, seeing a character that we loved end up mangled, that might move us to tears. Now, there are some creative choices when it comes with showing blood as well. If we look at the psychology of the color red, it's a high energy, intense color that stimulates physical responses such as increasing heart rate and metabolism. Now, typically, the more red we see, the more the effects. Likewise for blood, because it's red. That's not just a Snapple fact, it's actually biological. High gore anime like Blood Seed, Tokyo Ghoul, even Berserk pull emotions out of us very effectively through the use of gore. Gore shows us pain. However, it doesn't always make us feel it. Sometimes it overwhelms us. Sometimes it's just kind of like we're over it. It's like, okay, we know there's a lot of blood. And honestly, one of the most emotional, devastating scenes in anime history to me barely shows any gore at all. I'm going to tell you about a scene in anime that really hit me so hard unexpectedly, but there wasn't any blood shown at all. Once again, all roads are going to lead back to Sailor Moon. Now, Sailor Moon was actually a very dark show, but it wasn't gory in the least bit. One thing I feel like they did exceptionally well with Sailor Moon was convey heavy emotions without relying on gore. One of the best damn screams I've ever heard in an anime was in the original sub of Sailor Venus fighting one of the DD girls. This scene proves my entire point. You don't have to have gore to invoke emotion. So as you can see, this scene didn't need any blood to get my heart racing. But that's just one example. Let's flip it. That example feeds directly into the impact that having no gore or minimal gore has. In my review of Shibu Yuji, I mentioned that even though there were some savage moments, there was no blood. Zero. If you're someone who is a hardcore gore fan, then you might think a show that kind of does violence like this is on the safe side or, kind of mild. But I implore you to consider the fact that you can have shock with no blood. There are ways to build that same environment and invoke the same feeling through other avenues, like screams, lightings, heaviness, mood. I already showed you a great example just a few seconds ago. So when you take away the easy option of using gore, now the voice actors, the animators, hell, even the mangaka have to really get creative in making you feel that same emotion, the same sadness, the same grief, or even the same happiness if it's a villain on the other side of the violence. Now, the storytelling has the burden, not the visuals. In fact, some of the most devastating anime I've ever watched didn't show much blood at all. Shows like Fruits Basket, which deals with emotional abuse and trauma, Your Lie in April with the themes of grief and loss, and Death Parade, which explores death and morality. Tell me you watched any of these shows and didn't feel something. None of these shows needed blood to make pain feel real. And I want to kind of bring us back on track to say that I am saying that you can convey emotions without the use of gore. That includes violence as well. So some of those examples I gave, you might be like, well, those weren't violent shows. You know, they didn't really need gore, but they could have had gore. I mean, Toru got pushed off of a cliff. There was a lot of opportunity to use gore even in those shows. It's not about the blood per se. The blood is used for the emotion. Think about in Blood Sea when they were just cutting down people towards the end. That wasn't done for the sake of just cutting people down. It was, the blood was kind of really like, oh my God, look at how many people like are getting X'd out. Like, it was to make you feel the emotion. But you know, we saw an example of a lot of people getting gone fast in Infinity War. There wasn't any blood, there was a snap, and people just started disappearing. So that's what I mean by you don't necessarily have to have gore to feel the emotion. So when you have no gore or minimal gore, it forces us to sit with emotional consequences instead of reacting to the visual shock. Our brains have to fill in the gaps of what it all means when we don't see the more obvious stimuli. So is it necessary? If you remove the blood but keep the pain, does the story lose power or gain depth? The answer for me is, as I've already said, gore is absolutely not necessary, but it does make things a bit easier if we're being honest. Sometimes it's used as a shortcut, but a lot of times I actually think it's more of an amplifier, so they're not trying to take the easy way out. Now, I will say that I actually do love gore. My favorite film series is Saw, so that should tell you everything you need to know about that. The gore is what makes that series what it is. Do I think you could get that same emotional response without it? Yes, but it would be very, very difficult, but not impossible. Some viewers don't want to imagine the pain, they want to see it. And in cases like that where the point is to kind of shock you and make you go, then gore is obviously the answer for that. It's really not worth doing all of the work to get the same emotion without it, but I'm saying it can be done. So it's not 100% necessary. At any rate, I still stand by my statement. It's not necessary, and I think that some anime do extremely well without it. I really hope you loved this video, and if you didn't, I am so sorry to hear that. Give me a chance next time. If you're new to anime or you're just looking for new shows to watch, I have built a playlist just for you, so go check that out and make sure you subscribe. When one arc ends, another one begins. See you next time.